What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to be doing a deep dive on my new clan boss team. I'm going to be covering potential substitutions you can make, the speed tune itself, and how I've got all my champions built.
So let's dive in.
Alright, let's take a closer look at these champions, the skills they bring to the fight, and then we'll look at their masteries and artifacts after. First, we'll start with Tyrant. For his A3, this is the most important skill he brings to the fight. It places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. Next, his A2, it attacks all enemies and places a HP burn debuff on them for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This helps him not only contribute damage to the team, but it also turns on his passive as well. His passive, Fires of Doom, it decreases damage inflicted by enemies under HP burn debuffs by 10%, so it helps bring a little bit of damage mitigation into the team. And for Blessing, I have him with Brimstone, currently at 2-star. If I can get 1 more star, I actually have the mats for it, I'm just waiting for it to pop up in my shop. Once I get that 3rd star of Ascension, it'll double my chances of placing the Smite debuff, so that'll be a really nice upgrade. For Masteries, the most important ones to consider, we have 75 defense here. We have Blastproof, which reduces the damage he takes from AoEs by 5%. We have Delay Death, which gives him another 6% damage mitigation from Clan Boss. And then we have Retribution, which gives him a 50% chance to counterattack when he loses 25% or more of his max HP from a single enemy. And then for the offense tree, we're basically just going to hug the far left side and come all the way down here to War Master. This is going to give you a huge damage boost on your Clan Boss team. For my Tyrant, I have him geared in Stalwart. However, if you have access to Defiant gear good enough to get a similar build on your Tyrant, I would highly recommend 2 or even 3 Defiant sets if you can swing it. Unfortunately, I don't have good enough Defiant gear, so I have to settle for Stalwart. What this does is, while he's using Ally Protect to reduce the damage the rest of your team takes by 50%, the Stalwart set will help reduce the damage your Tyrant takes from 30%, or by 30%. Our Tyrant has 67,000 HP, 3,100 defense, 274 speed, 98% crit rate, 80% crit damage. Now, it is important to note, the more crit damage you gear into your ally protected champion, the more damage they take while ally protecting. I don't know why it works this way, but it does, so that's something to be careful of. And then for accuracy, I have 269, which is plenty to place my debuffs on the Demon Lord clan boss. I've achieved those stats by going with crit rate percentage on the gloves, HP percentage on the chest, and speed on the boots. And we have HP on the ring with nice HP and defense substats. We have HP on the amulet with a really nice triple accuracy roll there, and a little bit of defense to help supplement, as well as accuracy on the banner with a really nice triple speed roll, as well as a little bit of HP as well. Next up is Elva Autumnborn. What she's bringing to the fight is her 19% all battle speed aura. This makes all the speeds on my speed tune significantly easier to achieve. And then next we have her A2, Nature's Path. It has a 100% chance of removing all debuffs from all allies, places a block debuffs buff, and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And the block debuffs keeps us affinity friendly versus spirit. And the increased speed buff is what enables the 2-1 turn ratio. In addition to all that, she brings a really powerful passive that heals all allies by 10% of their max HP at the start of each of their turns. In addition to that, we have more healing on her A1, which places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. Elva is our one and only source of healing aside from what they gain from Guardian sets, but we'll cover that in a second. In terms of masteries, because Elva Autumnborn is our aura lead and I don't want her to be the stun target of this team, I have taken Steadfast Mastery. This is not a stun prevention, however, it is a stun deterrent. This will help guide the stun to someone else, and we'll cover who that stun target is in a moment. But for now, we've also got bonus healing from Lay of Hands, more bonus healing from Healing Savior. This is kind of irrelevant because no one's ever going to be stunned. And then we have Spirit Haste. This is irrelevant for Clan Boss, but I needed to put something somewhere. It's either that or I guess lasting gifts would have been fine. But it doesn't matter. And then for the offense tree, I went ahead and just took the plus attack because I do have her with Phantom Touch. It's not going to do a whole lot, but that bonus attack will help her normal attacks and Phantom Touch hits deal a little bit more damage. And again, same as Tyrant, we're hugging the far left side of this offense tree and coming down to War Master. This is where the big damage comes from. And for artifact sets, we have her in Guardian, which behaves very similarly to Ally Protect, only it's a 10% damage reduction rather than 50. And it also provides a nice little 10% max HP heal at the start of each of this champion's turns. For total stats, her HP is 56,000, which is a little bit higher than probably what it needs to be. And her defense, again, a little higher than what it needs to be at 4,200, but I do use her in other content besides Clan Boss, where I don't have a increased defense buff on her constantly, so I need her to be extra tanky. For speed, we have 266, basically no crit rate. Crit damage is irrelevant if she's not landing crits, and I have her in a high resistance build because, again, I use her in places other than Clan Boss. I've achieved this build with these HP percentage gauntlets, defense percentage chest, and speed on the boots. Alright, next we're going to take a look at Rosin Scarhide. What Rosin brings to the fight is decreased defense and weaken debuff on a 3-turn cooldown on his A2, and a very hard-hitting A1. For Masteries, for Rosin Scarhide, again, very similar to Tyrant, we have the 75 defense, minus 5% damage from AoEs, minus 6% damage over the course of the fight from Clan Boss here, and then the counterattack Mastery has a 50% chance to counterattack when they lose 25% of their max HP from a single skill. And then similar again to Tyrant, we're going to hug the far left-hand side of the tree here and come down to Giant Blade. The reason we went Giant Slayer instead of War Master is because Rosin hits 3 times on his A1, which gives him more opportunities to proc the Giant Slayer Mastery. And it's because Rosin is the only member of my team who is not wearing a Guardian set that he is my stun target. Between the ally protection, reducing the damage he takes from that stun by 50%, and the 3 Guardian sets, he'll have a total of 80% damage reduction from that stun. And the way I ensure Rosin takes a stun is by placing him number 2 in the team order and taking that Steadfast Mastery on Elva Autumnborn that we mentioned before. Look at this helm. Defense percentage, crit rate, crit damage, speed. I just could not say no to this helm. And then the weapon's not that bad either with speed, crit rate, and crit damage. Then the shield is crit rate, speed, and crit damage. So this is just a really nice 3-piece set for Rosin. And it gives him a nice little bonus speed and HP. So I needed both. Well, I didn't need the HP, but I did need the speed to help him reach the speed tune range for this team. And then we have 1 perception set to help get his accuracy up to where it needs to be. And then just a broken, lonely, toxic chest plate here. For HP, we have 43,000. For defense, we have 4,300. Speed is 215. 100% crit rate and 226% crit damage, as well as 259 accuracy to land debuffs on the Clan Boss. Again, we achieved those stats by putting crit damage percentage on the gauntlets, defense percentage on the chest plate, and defense percentage on the boots. And we have him in 3 counterattack accessories, one with defense percentage as the main, defense as the main stat with defense percentage and HP percentage in the subs, crit damage percentage on the amulet with accuracy and a little bit of defense, and then for the amulet we have accuracy with speed, HP, and a little defense as well. So I'm very proud of this Rosin build. It's a very high damage build. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to achieve this build in Guardian set. If I could, I would, and maybe someday I will. For the time being, I just don't have the gear. Alright, now let's take a look at Dark Gale. What Dark Gale brings to the fight is so much, so let's cover it all. On his A3, Reality Acid has a 100% chance of placing 3 poison debuffs and a 25% poison sensitivity debuff on the target for 2 turns. Then, he attacks all enemies, will place 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns, and then if he critically hits, he also has a 100% chance of increasing the duration of the debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Yes, all the debuffs. That includes the poisons and the decrease attack. And then on his A1, he attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 35% chance to instantly activate 2 poison debuffs or 1 poison and 1 HP burn. Despite constantly activating these poisons and HP burn debuffs, because he's extending the duration of those buffs with his A2, we're constantly having a full debuff bar. It's actually, Dark Kael just does so much damage. In addition to all of that, he's got this really, really powerful passive that decreases the crit rate of enemies under 2 or more poison debuffs by 15%. This will help mitigate bad variance as you get later into the fight, because if the clan boss only has a baseline 15% crit rate. So if you reduce his chance to crit by 15%, he has 0% chance to crit, which means you're not just going to randomly get crit and have your run ended early. I've got Cruelty for the Blessing, currently only at 1 star. I only recently acquired him, and I'll be looking to upgrade this to 3 stars as soon as I can, just to get the extra, 400 bonus attack would be nice, but to further decrease the clan boss's defense by 10% rather than just 5. For Masteries, you're going to notice a very familiar pattern here. 75 defense, minus 5% damage from AoEs, minus 6% damage from the clan boss over the course of the fight, and then the chance to counterattack. Similar to the other champions, we're just hugging the left side of the mastery tree, coming all the way down to War Master. Now, War Master or Giant Slayer or Dark Kael are effectively the same. It's true that he does have a 3-hitter A1, but he also has a 1-hitter A2, and his A3 doesn't actually deal physical damage when it attacks, therefore it cannot proc Giant Slayer or War Master. So, I did the math, and it's even between War Master and Giant Slayer. However, if you have counterattack masteries, or, like I do, have your Kael geared with a retaliation set, he's going to be counterattacking, which means he's going to be doing more A1s than he will be doing A2s or A3s. So technically, Giant Slayer does edge out War Master. However, I have not picked up Giant Slayer because in order to do so, I would have to grind out 200 more Mastery Scrolls to take kill streak here, and then stretch over to Giant Slayer. And because it's so close, I haven't taken the plunge on that. To me, it's just not worth the energy right now. There's other things I'm working on, and maybe someday I'll pick it up. But if you were going to fully grind out his masteries, I would recommend taking Giant Slayer, especially if you're going counterattack mastery here, or counterattack accessories, or even retaliation set. Speaking of retaliation set, zoop! So, we have our Kael and Guardian. Again, we've already covered Guardian and why it's good. I'm not going to go into it now, but he also has a 15% chance to counterattack when hit because of this retaliation set. Total stats: for HP, we have 44,000. Attack, we have 3,000. Defense, 3,000. Speed, 230. And we have 100% crit rate, so we can be sure to always extend the duration of all enemy debuffs whenever he attacks on that A2. 81% crit damage, I could increase that, but it'd come at the cost of defense or HP, and just keeping him alive is priority number 1. And with 300 accuracy, he has well over enough to land debuffs on the clan boss. We achieve these stats by going crit rate percentage on the gauntlets, HP percentage on the chest plate, and speed percentage on the boots. With defense percentage in the substats on the ring, we have a defense amulet, a little bit of accuracy. That's a pretty nice one. And then for the banner, we have accuracy with speed, defense, and HP in the substats. That's a really nice banner for him as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any counterattack accessories. Maybe someday that'll help improve his damage. Last but not least, we have Sandlatch Survivor. What she's bringing to this particular team is a buff extension on a 3-turn cooldown and damage that scales off defense. So she's going to do a little bit of damage herself. If I had the gear to build her more like Rosin, I absolutely would, and I think she would deal considerably more damage, but unfortunately I just don't have that Guardian gear right now. Maybe someday. For Masteries, again, noticing a pattern. We're going full damage mitigation with the 5% here, at 6% here, and the counterattack mastery here. And then we're scooting down along the far left side again, all the way down to more master. For artifacts, yet again, noticing a pattern, we have Guardian set. For total stats, we have 38,000 HP, 4.4k defense, 249 speed, 100% crit rate, 131% crit damage. Unfortunately, we don't have enough accuracy for her on this team, which doesn't really matter. It can help you remove the increased attack buff off of affinity clan bosses, but we also have Rosin to do that same job, so it's really not a huge deal. I've achieved these stats with a crit rate percentage gauntlets, defense percentage chest plate, and speed on the boots, as well as HP with defense and HP percentage substats on the ring, crit damage percentage counterattack accessory on the amulet with a little bit of defense on the substats, and a defense banner with lots of speed, HP percentage, and defense percentage. Alright, so really quick, let's go over everybody's AI setup. For Elva Autumnborn, her default AI works, but I went ahead and set her to prioritize her A2 just to play it safe. Rosin Scarhide, his default AI works. Sandlash Survivor, her default AI works, but again, I went ahead and set her to prioritize the A2 just in case. Dark Kale, his AI default works fine, but I went ahead to tell him to prioritize the A3, followed by the A2 to make sure he's placing the poisons before extending them. Again, default AI works, but I set it up this way just to be safe. And Tyrant, once again, the AI default works. However, just to play it safe, I wanted to make sure he's opening with that A3, because that ensures full protection over all clan boss attacks. So again, really quick, just to make sure you guys missed it, default AI can work, default AI can work, default AI can work, default AI can work, and default AI can work. So hopefully that's not too complicated for you guys. And if you can master that setup, you'll be full auto. And really quick, it does not necessarily behave the same way on Ultra Nightmare as it does for all the other difficulties. However, the setup is still the same, so don't worry, you don't have to strain your brain trying to figure out the setup for the other difficulties as well. When we drop from Ultra Nightmare to Nightmare, you can see Elva is no longer ally protected by the stun. Okay, so it's not a big deal. As you can see here, for my Ultra Nightmare team, we did 80 million today, but for Nightmare, even without Elva protected by the stun, we still did 126 million. And then for Brutal, we have 128 million. Again, she was not fully ally protected. I forget which turn it is on Brutal. Again, it's the stun on Brutal, so still just does plenty of damage despite that. And then on Hard, she loses ally protect for the second AoE. But as you can probably imagine, on Hard Clan Boss, we almost soloed the entire Hard Clan Boss here with 183 million without Elva being ally protected from the second AoE. So it's not an issue. The only thing, sorry, I guess not the only one. The one that is the most important is Ultra Nightmare, because Ultra Nightmare slaps. So we want to make sure Elva is ally protected on Ultra Nightmare, and that's why Tyrant speed is so high. This speed tune is effectively the Lydia White Whale with certain speeds ramped up in order to achieve this. Normally with the Lydia White Whale, your speed champion, in this case for me it's Elva Autumnborn, but if you were implementing the Lydia White Whale team, your speed champion always would go last. So I was trying to figure out a way to improve on that speed tune so the Ally Protect champion can go last, and this is what I came up with. So this is a custom speed tune. It's not on Deadwood Jedi as far as I'm aware, and I'm not in the content creator program, so I don't foresee this being added to that site anytime soon. But here it is, documented fully for your viewing pleasure. Hopefully this can be of help to you guys. And this is the team that I showcased in my last video, where if you watched it, then you know. If you haven't, then go watch it, because it's a very informational video. Alright, so now let's talk replacements. The only replacement I could think of for Elva Autumnborn off the top of my head, where they can just one can slot right in for the other, is to Hanorok. Now, if you use Tuhanarok, her A3 brings increased speed and increased defense, and it's her passive that cleanses, is why I consider her a 1-for-1 swap with Elva Autumnborn, because Elva is not only placing the increased speed, but she's also placing block debuffs as well as cleansing. So Tuhanarok's passive that cleanses, you can see right here, I have it selected to Spirit. If you look at Void, stays in sync. If you go to Spirit, her passive is cleansing off the decreased speed debuff, and it allows the speed tune to stay in sync. Okay. It actually looks like it syncs faster. What about, okay, with Void it takes longer to sync, but if you use Tuhanarok, you will need a different champion on your team with this 19% speed aura to pull it off, or you can just gear your champions with 287 speed, 266 speed, 248, 232, and 293. You can see the speed aura is just massive. So that would just depend on who you have in your roster. I'll switch this back to Elva. So if you have, let's say if you have, I don't even know, Calvalax as your poisoner. You could use Calvalax as your speed aura with Tuhanarok in place of Elva Autumnborn. Or if you don't necessarily need your increased speed champion to be your block debuffs champion. So if you don't have Elva, you don't have Tuhanarok, you want to try to build this style of team, you just have to try to find someone else who can bring that block debuffs or a cleanse the way these champions do. And you would just need to find your speed aura somewhere else. In terms of like 1-for-1, Sandlash Survivor and Godseeker Aniri, they do basically the exact same job. Or if you have Corvus the Corruptor, you could use him as your buff extender, and then now he becomes your poisoner. So now you don't necessarily need Dark Kale. So you kind of see how replacing one champion changes the whole formula of who you need to bring. And again, on the subject of Tuhanarok, she brings increased defense. So we have Tuhanarok here, bringing increased defense. Now you don't necessarily need Tyrant Ixalar, because the reason I am specifically using Tyrant is because not only does he bring ally protection, he's also bringing a 60% increased defense buff. So for me, I value that very highly, so that's why I'm using Tyrant specifically. But if I didn't need the increased defense buff, I could use a different ally protect champion. Maybe someone like Skull Crusher to get the counterattack buff instead. So you can kind of see how bringing in one champion opens up the potential for different champions to come in to fill those roles for you. But for me, the only, aside from maybe bringing in Godseeker and Aniri here for a little bit more healing, the only big change that I would like to see is if I can pull Iron Brago, run Iron Brago in this speed slot here, and then instead of Tyrant, because Iron Brago's increased defense is on a 3-turn cooldown and it lasts for 3 turns, it's up 100% of the fight. So now I no longer need Tyrant Ixalar to be my ally protection champion. And then instead of Tyrant, I can run Urost the Soul Cage. Oops. Probably needs more speed. His base speed is lower than Tyrant's. Yeah, there it is. So you just increase it to get it to fall in sync. And now I lose poisons from Dark Hail, but Iron Brago. So with a setup like this, Iron Brago is now my decreased attack champion and my increased defense champion. And now I have Urost the Soul Cage to be my ally protect champion. And what he brings over Tyrant is a strengthen buff and poisons. So I lose poisons from taking Dark Hail out, but I gain those poisons back by bringing Urost the Soul Cage in. I lose a 10% damage mitigation from Tyrant's passive, but I replace that with 25% damage mitigation in the form of Urost's strengthen buff. So you can kind of see how to fill out your team based on what champion, the puzzle is ever evolving depending on which champions you have in each role. So again, as I mentioned in my last video, you really just have to stop for a moment, think critically about the champions you have access to, and think about how they fit into the puzzle. Anyways, that's going to be all for this one. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you found this guide helpful, consider giving it a like. If you'd like to see more of my content, consider subscribing. And hopefully, I'll see you in another video soon. But until then, happy raiding.